James Rock Show.
You're watching the My James Rock Show.
Right, it's Dan from The Rock Show. I have a gentleman from Devil Wears Prada here who I'm going to get to introduce himself.
I am Mike from the Devil Wears Prada.
And what do you do in said band?
I yell and scream.
And gesticulate, I imagine, as well.
Mm-hmm. Gesticulate's a nice way of saying it.
Thank you very much. So, I've been saying this all day, I'm going to say it to you as well. You're in a unique position where you've already played this festival, but you also have the festival still to play as well. How are you feeling at this midpoint of Slam Dunk? Has it been good so far? Are you still looking forward to the next performance as well?
Yeah, I mean, we're only playing 3 shows.
Yeah.
So, like, we were on tour in the U.S. for only like 4 or 5 weeks earlier this year, and then we weren't doing anything, and now we're here doing this. So, like, this is like a holiday for us as far as
super chill, right?
popping in, playing some songs, and heading home.
Excellent.
So, no worries being the second of 3.
You seem quite chill, so that's normally a good thing.
Yeah. It's my job, my work is done for the day, so nothing to do now, just read.
I suppose you don't have to, restring your voice or anything like that.
It'd be nice if I could.
It'd be nice. Do you find that on a short run like this, you're, sorry, this is just a personal interest question. Do you find it's an easier thing to do a short run, or do you find you actually warm up across a longer sort of run of dates?
There's definitely warming up regardless, so probably if there were 4 shows, my voice and my back would be warmed up by the 4th. So you kind of get it regardless. It'd be nice if there was a way to practice screaming, but I don't. So yeah, you just kind of come out here and you get, I get like jaw tightness from yelling and screaming, and there's really no way to exercise that besides chew gum, which I have considered, but there is a warm-up period, but 3 shows isn't bad. It's not like we're playing 2 hours. So
and so far has the weather been kind to you? Because I've struggled in this heat. I've got to admit, I'm English, and this heat is just like unheard of.
I said the same yesterday. It was a pretty sunny yesterday. Both shows really steamy hot inside, in the tent today and inside yesterday, but it's not so bad. I mean, I'm up for whatever, I guess. Like, I love the winter and the snow and the cold, so I would honestly prefer that than sun, so I guess we're in the same boat.
Fair play. So you guys have recently dropped a single. I'm hoping that it's not recently about to come out. I sometimes get that tipping point wrong.
No, it just came out.
It just came out. Because obviously being radio, we get it a little bit earlier than it actually drops. And I've made many a faux pas in an interview where I was like, you've just dropped a single. It's like, no, we've just dropped it to press.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased this one has actually dropped.
This one has dropped, yes.
And how are you finding that it's gone down so far?
It's been really good. I mean, really, so it's just a cover song.
Yeah.
So we pressed 500 7 inches for it, a real exclusive release as far as physical hands-on. But in the States, in Chicago, there's like live recording channel, if you will, called Audio Tree.
Okay.
And a young artist that we're a big fan of mentioned covering our songs when she was a kid. She's like a indie solo artist, and then fast forward years later, we met her briefly in Atlanta, and then at the end of last year, I was like, oh, we should cover one of her songs, because she used to cover ours. So it's not really a metal song so much, but it's a rendition of her, because she's, again, like a solo, mostly electric guitar artist, but really talented, really fantastic lyricist as well as songwriter. So yeah, it was really interesting to do, and I think it's interesting for fans. So we're pleased, and from what we've received, I think everyone is enjoying something a little bit different.
Well, I was going to ask where the cover came from, which you've covered, and I got a bit covered. But I'm just really happy that that's actually the reason for doing it. That it's like a payback of somebody that supported you with covers back in the day, and that you wanted to do the same thing that they had done for you, which is a really cool thing to do, to be fair.
Right. I think especially within the metalcore scene, everyone gets so... it almost seems as it's become a tradition to cover bands to try to like get on their coattails, or to like cover Katy Perry or something like that. Bands do that, and it brings a lot of popularity. We covered a rap song forever ago, and people really loved it, and we didn't. So I guess that was sort of our means of hopping on someone's coattails. If you called it that, we just thought it was interesting, and someone told us to do it. But yeah, it kind of came from a place that I think is a little different than most cover songs. So we're proud of that.
You didn't just sort of pick one out of the ether and cover that, because I think in many ways you can tell that a lot of the time. And
it's quite transparent.
Yeah, and we do like to talk to people about their covers and why they went for them. And to hear that there's a bit more of an in-depth reason, like I say, for me, it's just, I don't know, pretty cool. So
yeah, there ought to be substance and meaning to doing anything, really, I think. So certainly in case of covers, too. I think that in our world, people lack the creativity to collab as much as they ought to.
Yep.
And it's hard to think up those ideas, and it requires a lot of restrictions and parameters. But when something like this comes together, it's really exciting for me as a fan when other bands do that, and that's what we try to offer those that like to listen to our music.
So do you go, just again a bit of a side note, just purely for my interest's sake, do you check out the online covers of your band that people do from time to time? Because there's a whole world of covers out there now from people.
Yeah, it is, and I always say that I'm really glad YouTube wasn't a thing when I was a kid, because I would definitely be up there looking rather foolish in front of the world. But yeah, I mean, that's how it went for me. I mean, I remember, like, that's how I learned to yell and scream, and there were bands like The Bled that I was just trying to sound like that kind of, and that's sort of how I think a lot of people find their voice is. I always said singing in the car. Like, I just always like a band like Thursday, like singing Thursday in the car or something. And that's sort of how you develop what your voice is capable of and whatnot. And I think, and people do that like on YouTube and whatnot now. I'm just too jaded to watch people do it for my stuff, because I'm also like, why would you want to sound like me? Like, there's better things to sound like. So I don't know. To answer your question, no, I don't check covers out.
It sounds like for quite a humble reason why, though. So
it's flattering of you to say.
I'm going to give you a pass on that one. Though you do bring up something which I do love as well, which is the traffic jam screaming, where as a metalhead, we've all done it in the middle of a traffic jam, just shouting away, and then you look across and there's a family next to you, and they wonder whether you're having a seizure or you're possessed by the devil or something like that. I'm getting pointed out by off camera because it's me. I do this all the time. It
is, to the casual onlooker, probably pretty strange. But yeah, I mean, I never play music in the shower. I always play music in the car, though, so it's not like I'm going to scream in the shower. It'd probably be nice, though, with the steam and the therapy for your voice. So
you could always just cool it down by turning your head upwards.
Yeah, exactly. Have a drink of the water if you want, if you're one of those guys. All depends.
Well, I've never trusted the shower head.
I wouldn't either. I would not either.
This is probably not the interview that you're expecting to have this afternoon.
I appreciate it rather than you asking about the band name or...
Oh, can I ask about the band name, please?
No.
Oh, well. No, so I will go for a little bit of generic. Just what are the sort of plans after Slam Dunk for you guys moving forward? Are you playing, writing, going out in traffic jams and scaring children? What's going on with you?
Scaring children, likely, in all walks of life. Our only release this year is going to be the Julian Baker cover that we just put out. It's called Sour Breath for anyone interested. You can YouTube it or whatever, or iTunes, whatever your means of streaming music is.
It's now there.
It's now there. It exists. But yeah, we're basically trying to write very, very slowly.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask why?
Intentionality.
Okay.
Not to take up all your time, but it was actually right when we were about to record our cover song in Chicago. And John, our keyboardist, and Kyle, one of our guitar players, got together and basically they each were sitting on, 10 to 30 demos and said, let's sit in a room together, drink some beers or whatever and vibe out what we like and what we don't. And they basically sat there for 2 days and they were like, all of this sounds like the record we just made, and who really cares about that at all? Like, we already made that record.
Yeah, okay, fair.
And I think we really did that with 2 records ago, a record called 818. I think there's some good content on there, but a lot of it seems pretty recycled. And I think we did a good job not doing that so much on Transit Blues, our last record, but the next one just needs to be something that people can appreciate about us, and they're not going to buy the Devil Wears Prada LP and hear a pop record or anything, but we hear a lot, and we all have critical taste, and we're all fervent music listeners, and a lot of the bands that we really enjoy, we don't see so much coverage of, and we can see a lot of influence and whatnot. So rather than doing what's comfortable and writing another Transit Blues record, another Prada record, is to say, how do I use my voice differently? How do I use this melody in my head with this different set of instruments, maybe, rather than just a guitar? Okay. And you just put some delay on it, or through your clean amp, or whatever it might be. So just really challenging every bit of it and trying to have your song there and look at it from every perspective possible. A lot of the times when you get together and write, like, we would basically have 2 writing sessions each 3 weeks, and you'd write half the record then, half the record then. And I mean, like, psychologically, like, I'm going to be having a lot of the same sort of cathartic thoughts and whatnot, or the same stories to tell. They're all coming from the same place within a short period of time. It's better to write songs or stories for me as the lyricist from different places, after different experiences, rather than like such a binge, which is great. And a lot of bands do it, and the records are awesome. Yep. But we just don't want to make the same record again. So that's the very long answer to your question.
No, that's fantastic. It's something that we really enjoy touching on people with, is especially if you're coming just like straight off a tour, and you're one of the first people to actually bring a lot of clarity to the fact that you can just tell the same story purely because it's all done in the same amount of time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you need to give your brain time to digest different things going on. And you may not want to write a record that's just, I've come off of tour for 2 years and I'm really burnt out, I want to write about that. Because give it a month or so, then you'll probably find that you're not as burnt out, and then some of the experiences over that time will lead to a better song, a better story.
New ideas constantly. You'll read something, watch something, hear something, and feel inspired by that. And it's kind of hard to do that, in 3 weeks, and you're writing, like, not a lot of music comes out in 3 weeks, and a lot of time to digest it and be inspired by it. So we're really just taking our time. We always like to try to do different things for fans. At the end of last year, we did a tour called No Sun, No Moon, and anyone that came to the tour got a download card, and you could get online and watch our documentary that we made recording our record. So a little bit of an incentive and something just different for a fan of our music to have something to digest, and we try to do that and not stuff it down everyone's throat, not try to sit on your social media saying buy this t-shirt, buy that, and you're getting that slammed down your throat by a million things these days, So I think it's a better plan of longevity, and there's better heart and sincerity and substance to where you say, okay, this is like, here's the one song we're going to put out this year. If you want to buy one of the 7 inches, buy it. And just try to be a little more deliberate. I try to be deliberate in everything, whether it's songwriting or releasing things. So, so just taking our time this year, and probably maybe record in the spring, late winter of next year, if we have songs that we like.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not sure how much it counts for, but we actually really like that way of writing. We think an album should come out at the time that it's ready to. It should be written at the time it's ready to, rather than being forced into almost doing Devil Wears Prada by numbers. Mm-hmm. You just, this is here's the scream bit, here's the singing bit. You don't really feel like you want to own it. You want to write something that you're actually looking forward to taking to the fans, taking to the stage.
Right, and that was something that our keyboardist said was, like, as far as, like, he compliments each of our own distinctive taste in music and say, like, oh, you have good taste in music. Like, we need to be more proud of what we make, as far as, especially with this next record, and thinking about records that have come out recently that you just talk to your friends and everyone is, like, just so, like, over the moon stoked on something.
Or even if it's divisive, like, I love the fact that, yet again, Parkway, for example, they've managed to split their fan base, like they've done with the last 3 releases, because every time they push the envelope, everybody sort of gets their mind blown by this new album that they've and new concepts within the album. And then by the time they make it back to, for us, the UK, everybody loves the track and they hear it live and they're like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And I love bands that are brave and confident enough to do that, because again, like you say, what's the point in releasing the same thing, just slightly rebranded, slightly done again? You know, that will make you a certain style of musician, which
It's by the numbers, as you mentioned.
Yeah. So I'm pretty much going to wrap it up there, because I think this could turn into me just talking to you about stuff I want to hear about, which
it's drinking conversation.
It's drinking conversation.
Yeah.
I need a drink.
Last interview. You're almost there.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And take your time, and when it comes out, send it across to us, and we'll make sure that it gets the presence it deserves.
Happily.
Alrighty. Cheers. Hi, thank you for watching my interview with the Devil Wears Prada. Obviously, this is just one member. It doesn't have like a drum on his back and do the whole thing. But anyway.
You don't want to see the other ones.
But if you did like our interview and want to see more with it, we've done interviews with these guys before, sort of download last year. They're all on this channel. Just hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell. And next time we catch up with him, we'll do this again.
We'll rant forever.
Rant forever. I love it. All right, thank you.
Welcome to the My James Rock Show.